Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to talk about the different theological movements that developed within Islam. In the 8th century we are going to explain more about the topics related to the Kalam, which is the word referring to Islamic theology, or those who engage in the science of theology, is simply known as al Kalam. And we're going to also point to the different schools of thought that develop within Islam, meaning the Khawarij, Al-Murjiya, the Mutazila, Ashariya, the philosophers, among many others, in a series of videos that we will develop in this channel. Today we are simply going to introduce the first two schools that at the beginning, in the time of Imam Ali, simply had a conflict regarding the theological perspective of how to see another person, a Muslim, after such person committed a sin. Was this individual considered a Muslim, yes or no? Let's explain this according to history, and so we could have a better understanding of these different theological movements that developed in early Islam. Those who engage in Kalam, in the study or the science of theology within Islam, were known as mutakallimun, and there were two main positions. We have those called al-Khawarij and al-Murjiya. We have to say that regarding the point of how to judge someone, a Muslim, that commit a sin, is such a person still a Muslim, yes or no? The behavior of such an individual is revealing that he is a Muslim. Who are we supposed to judge? Is God the last judge, the one who has the last word? So regarding this is very interesting, because the Khawarij, this faction that supported Ali at the time when Muawiyah in Syria, in Damascus, refused to acknowledge Ali as the Caliph. We know that there was a point in which both armies, the army of Muawiyah and Ali, were meeting for a battle close to Iraq. And we know that there was a point in which Ali decided to make kind of a pact, make kind of, let's say, not allow the Muslims to have this kind of fight, but to create or find a way of understanding. This kind of behavior was seen by the Khawarij as something unacceptable, because according to the Khawarij, this sect, their belief was that Ali as the Caliph could not have taken such position. According to the Khawarij, Ali was rightly chosen by God, and he could not have taken such decision to intermediate or have such an agreement of pact, of peace with Muawiyah, who was considered by the Khawarij as a kafir, as an infidel. And therefore, since the Khawarij considered the Muawiyah and later on of course the Umayyah as infidels and not Muslims anymore, and now Ali is agreeing to, instead of insisting on his position as divinely chosen by God as a caliph, then the Khawarij said, oh, this is a mistake too, this is a sin, and therefore if you commit a sin like this, instead of applying all your strength and your authority as the caliph, now this is wrong, and therefore you are also a kafir now, and we are going to turn against you. And this is what happened, as we know that one of the Khawarij, Abdurrahman, really went against the Caliph and assassinated him. Therefore, we have this kind of school of thought, kind of really extremist, because according to them, any Muslim who committed any sin or improper behavior, according to them, such individual was no longer a Muslim, was an infidel, a kafir. And we have another school, which is the school of Al-Murjiya. Al-Murjiya said, no, we are not we are not in a position to judge anyone. If a Muslim commits a sin, a transgression, we are not the judges here. God is the ultimate judge, and in the day of Yom Al-Qiyamah, He will take matter into His hands, and He will decide who is a believer and who is not a believer. We are not in the position to judge anyone. We are not God. Now, of course, there was a conflict here of ideologies between the Khawarij and Al-Murjiya, and we have to say, of course, that the Khawarij were not seen in a good favor, and in fact Al-Murjiya were the ones that won the favor of the Umayyads. And we know that the Umayyads in history are not really known, or were not really known because of their piousness. On the contrary, we know that the Umayyads had certain flaws and certain attitudes that went really against Islam. We know that of many of their rulers, they turned the position of caliph into kingship, and then a succession of power from father to son. And we know their stories of drinking and many things that are against or condemned in Islam. But according to the school of Al-Murjiya, even the Umayyads who made these kind of sins and mistakes, they still remain Muslims, and therefore the Umayyads said, we have the power and the authority by divine decree to rule the Islamic empire. Now this created a problem of predestination and a problem related to free will. Human beings, do we have free will, or everything, let's say, is determined by God? It was a big conflict here, and we have a third school that developed at this time. This is the school of the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila were the champions of free will, meaning that human beings are responsible for their acts. Anyone who commits a sin is responsible for this. Even if this person is the caliph himself, it is our duty to point to his mistake. And about the Mu'tazila, we will talk and explain a little bit more in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode to continue more and explain about the different theological schools of thought, Kalam, and the theological debates that developed in early Islam in the 8th century. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.